Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. I'm Shannon, and if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit subscribe and ring the bell. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Now, hopefully by now you have watched our recap of our trip. I think it was a 5-part series of our 3-night trip, which was kind of like a whirlwind getaway at Walt Disney World. We stayed at Beach Club Villas and we just had a fantastic time. So hopefully you've had a chance to watch those videos already and get an idea of what it's like to be in the parks at this point, and then also go to a couple table service restaurants. What I want to do right now is kind of recap our trip with some of the things that we learned in this post-COVID world, because it's different. So there's a couple things that we're going to go over. So first of all, transportation. Friendship boats aren't running. We knew that before, so that wasn't a big surprise for us, but the friendship boats are not running. They should start running shortly, but a lot of the boats, so only right now, I think only the ferry is running. I'm not sure about the boats at Bay Lake and Wilderness Lodge, but right now I know that the boats and the friendship boats at Boardwalk and Beach Club are not running, and I don't believe they are also at for the Magic Kingdom. With that said, so keep that in mind. Next, check the Skyliner times. So I had checked the Skyliner times the first week that the parks reopened, and the Skyliner was opening at 9 a.m. for people staying at Beach Club to go to Disney's Hollywood Studios. Well, sometime between July 15th and July 27th, which is when we went, they changed that. So we went, you saw our video, we stood in line for about 15 minutes. Everybody's kind of standing there. There was a security guard there, never said anything, couldn't walk over and say, hey, Skyliner doesn't run until 10:30, but he didn't. So we at 9:12, we're like, okay, we're gonna walk. It was a 17-minute walk from the Beach Club and a leisurely walk from the Beach Club to the front of Disney's Hollywood Studios, and we timed the Skyliner coming back, and it's about 18 to 19 minutes with no stops, with no lines. So it's about the same. So I say just head for, walk, but also just check the Skyliner times. They may change it, but right now the Skyliner does not, at International Gateway, does not start until 10:30. I'm going to post the times right now. This is what I took. This is the sign that I took at International Gateway of the times that it runs. So it starts at 10:30. Just keep that in mind, because we made that mistake and wasted about 20 minutes waiting in the hot sun. Next are the buses. So we only planned to take the bus because we didn't go to Animal Kingdom. We only had the bus for the day of Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom opened at 9. We got to the bus stop at 7:45. There was a bus there, and they were loading someone in an ECV, and then they put about 10 people on the bus. It was a crowded bus stop. Everybody was there for Magic Kingdom. We kind of timed it that with how many people they were putting on the bus, we were probably going to be the 3rd or maybe even 4th bus, and the buses weren't coming continuously. They were coming every 20 minutes. So if we had sat there and waited, we were going to have to wait a good hour to finally get on a bus, just because there's no standing, and you have to be socially distant inside the bus. So with that, I got on my Disney experience. I made a quick reservation at the Wave, got a lift, and we jumped on a lift, and a lift got there like in 10 minutes, had us drop us off at the Contemporary. They actually checked our Magic Bands to make sure we had a dining reservation. So don't think you can go to the Contemporary saying, oh, I have a dining reservation, and they're gonna let you in. They will not let you in. They made sure we had a dining reservation. We went to the Wave, had a quick breakfast, so quick I didn't even get footage of it, and then we walked over to the Magic Kingdom, and we got there like at 8:50. So it took a long time, like between everything. It was actually really fast. So we got to Magic Kingdom about 10 minutes before they opened. But just keep that in mind. So if you're going to Magic Kingdom and you're going to need breakfast anyway, maybe make a reservation at the Wave, or maybe even Chef Mickey's is open, no characters, but it's open. So just do something like that, because the buses, is horrendous. And we heard from other guests that we would just kind of casually talk to that the buses at all the resorts was very, very hard, because especially in the morning, because everybody's trying to get to the same place and the buses were coming every 20 minutes and they're only putting like 10 to 12 people on the bus. So keep that in mind. With that said, there are no minivans right now. We love minivans. We actually always budget to do a minivan to and from the Magic Kingdom. So no minivans. So we'd use Lyft a couple times. We got kicked off the Skyliner. That's another thing I forgot to mention about the Skyliner. If a storm is coming and you are trying to get somewhere that has a stop, so you're not going from Hollywood Studios to Caribbean Beach, but you have somewhere where there is a stop, if there is a storm coming, don't try to beat the storm, because we tried it and we lost because we got kicked off the Riviera. So we ended up further away from our resort, had to wait about 30 minutes for a Lyft to come and pick us up and take us to a resort. So it took about an hour when we could have just walked and been back to our resort in 20 minutes. So don't try and beat the storm. But just keep that in mind. No minivans, maybe budget with the Lyft if you can do the Lyft. So just kind of keep that in mind. We did take the bus from Magic Kingdom back to our resort. We left around 2:30 and it was us and another family, so it was no problem, and we were very lucky. The bus was sitting there waiting when we was pulling in when we were walking up. So it was very, very simple. So that was like just kind of worked out for us. So the bus was nice. We felt safe on the bus. There wasn't that many people on it. But I think it's fine coming back from Magic Kingdom if you're not leaving at a peak time, but going to a park is probably going to be a long wait. So that's it for transportation. Next up, photos. So we have the memory maker because it's included with our gold annual pass. However, if you have to pay extra, I personally would not get the memory maker at this time. It's $170 prepaid. And when we first got to Magic Kingdom, there were no PhotoPass photographers at all. I don't think they started arriving until 10 o'clock and the park opened at 9. Probably did it so that they wouldn't bottleneck, but there were not one PhotoPass photographer at park opening. There were quite a bit in Magic Kingdom. There were none at Epcot. We never saw anyone at Epcot. And there were quite a few. We did take a couple pictures at Disney's Hollywood Studios, but not a lot. So with that, you have to wear your mask. You can't take your mask off for any pictures, ride photos, anything like that. If you're taking a picture in front of the castle, you have to wear your mask. The photographer will say you have to keep your mask on. That said, if you are in a ride, and you are in a ride like Tower of Terror or Mine Train, where the video is the entire ride, keep your mask on. Because even if you don't want the photo, there is another family in that picture that may want the photo. And you not wearing your mask will prevent that family from getting the photo. And the reason why I know this is because Mine Train, there was a family, and I only saw it because when I shot my footage, I did a selfie of myself, and I saw the family all the way in the back had removed all four of them had removed their masks. And we didn't, while we got our individual pictures, we didn't get the video of ourselves on being on Mine Train, which is one of the things I love, and I was going to add to our vlog of our Magic Kingdom day, but we didn't get it because they removed their masks, and it's a footage of everybody in the train. The same thing, we rode Tower of Terror twice. We noticed when we walked out, we saw our ride photo, and we noticed that the couple in the front had removed their mask. That photo, even though we had our masks on, that photo was removed from our PhotoPass because another family. So don't be that family. Don't ruin another family's opportunity to get a picture that they may want because you're selfish and you're taking your mask. I don't like masks. I don't like wearing them, but I left it on because that's the rules. And if you can't follow the rules, don't go to Walt Disney World. Next up is about dining. So table service, there are table service restaurants available. Make sure you make your reservations 60 days in advance. There's limited capacity, so just keep that in mind, especially for certain high, like Beaches and Cream. I tried to change our time, could not change our time because it was completely packed. Whereas Trattoria Al Forno was you could have gotten a late breakfast, not a pre-park opening, get breakfast then, but you could have gotten a late breakfast. There was plenty of capacity. But mobile ordering, you want to do before. So we went to Regal Eagles barbecue, and we knew we wanted to go there. And I just kind of completely forgot that we had to do mobile ordering. So we walked up and I was like, oh, I'll see the menu when I get there. And they're like, no, you need to mobile order and then stand outside until your order is ready. So we got on the app, ordered our food, and then waited 10 minutes for them to say it's ready, and then we went inside. So we wasted about 15 minutes. So what we did the rest of the trip is we knew where we wanted to go. So knew we wanted to eat at Docking Bay 7 at Hollywood Studios. Knew we wanted to eat at Pecos Bill at Magic Kingdom. So we pre-ordered. So we would order that morning, figure out what we want, picked a time that we wanted to order, and then placed it. And then all we had to do is, for example, for Docking Bay 7, we actually were really hungry and decided, oh, we're going to eat earlier. We went in and I just changed the time. But I will say, when I went to change the time, the first available time was not for another half an hour because it was full. Now, fortunately, we were in line for Smuggler's Run, so it wasn't a big deal. But there were a lot of people trying to get into Docking Bay 7 to eat lunch and then told to mobile order, and they were having to place an order for half an hour away and had nothing to do. So basically, they were either going somewhere else or were sitting outside waiting for half an hour to 40 minutes for their food to be ready. So place your mobile order. If you know where you're going to eat, you can always cancel the order. So don't think you're locked in, you pay. You can always cancel the order. And you can also, I don't think you can change it, but you can always cancel it. But that way, when you're ready to eat, all you have to do is kind of go, maybe adjust the time and say, okay, I'm ready, I'm here, and then you're done. So you don't have to, figure out what you're going to do. Also, with dining reservations, table service, you have to check in on the app. So just make sure that when you do that, what we did is we checked in. We knew this from when we stayed at the Riviera. So as we were walking to the reservation, we would check in. So it just saved us a little bit of time of wait time. If you're watching this, you probably know this already. So I'm going to make this really quick. Rise of the Resistance. Boarding groups drop right now at 10 and at 2 p.m. You have to be in the park and checked in to get a boarding pass. So, and you can only get one boarding pass a day. So you don't think you're going to get one at 10, ride, and then get another one at 2. You can't. But make sure you're in the park, close the app, reopen the app after you've checked in, and then have the app open and then refresh right when your phone says 10 a.m. Refresh it and then just make sure you know the system. What we did is we were both on my account, because everything's under my account because my husband, just lets me do everything. I was on Wi-Fi and he was on cellular data because sometimes it's faster. He was much faster with where we were. We were right next to the Hollywood Brown Derby. Go ahead and watch our video. But I would do that too. Have somebody on Wi-Fi, somebody on cellular data, because most likely one is going to be faster than the other. Another tip, and again, if you're watching this, you probably already know this, but know what's open. So know what restaurants are open in your resort. Know what restaurant or things are open at the parks. We were surprised of how many people didn't realize things weren't open. So people just didn't know what was open. And we were kind of shocked when we saw things closed at Magic Kingdom. Like even my husband's like, oh, Casey's Corners is closed. So things like that are closed. And I actually thought Storybook Circus, where they sell the treats, was open, and went over there and it was closed. And I hadn't even looked, and we never go there. So I was surprised. So there was a lot of things closed. So just kind of know if there's a place that you want to go to or you're planning on visiting, make sure you check to see if it's open, because there's a lot closed. Things are slowly reopening, but just make sure you check to see what's open and what's not. And again, you need to have a park pass reservation. I'm going to put a link below. So if you don't know that you need to have a park pass, if you have an annual pass, you have a ticket, it doesn't matter. You need to have a park pass. There are 3 tiers. There's annual pass holders, there's resort guests, and there's ticket holders. So annual pass holders are pretty blocked for a lot of times. I think that's the smallest pool. And then there's ticket holders for non-resort guests. and then resort guests. So if you were staying on property, you could actually fall into all three categories possibly, but pick the category for resort guests. That's probably going to have the biggest availability. So just make sure you have your park pass. Hollywood Studios is the one that fills the fastest, so keep that in mind. So if you want to go to Hollywood Studios, make that one first. Epcot, my understanding, has been open pretty much all the time. We had to go to guest services before we went to Epcot, and we had a supervisor, and I asked her casually, I said, because the people that she had helped right before us had no clue about the park pass reservation system, and they had tried to go to Hollywood Studios and couldn't, and they came to Epcot as a last resort. I said, how many people don't know about the park pass reservation system? And she goes, a lot. And it's shocking, but we're so used to, especially Floridians, we're so used to just going to the parks whenever we want. So park pass system, make sure you have a reservation, and then no park hopping. So that's kind of unfortunate. I hope they change that or lift that, at least for Epcot, because we were only at Epcot for a few hours, and we would have loved to have gone back one of the nights to grab a dessert or grab a drink at Food and Wine. And we wanted to go to the dessert and Champagne, the festival center, and we couldn't. So we didn't finish. My son wanted to ride Test Track again, so we didn't get to go there when we went to Epcot, and then we couldn't go back because there's no park hopping. So hopefully they'll lift that, at least for Epcot, but just keep that in mind, that do whatever you want to do at the park that you're going to, because there's no going back once you leave. So the next is about the rides. They're cleaning every 2 hours. So just kind of keep that in mind. If the park opens at 9, let's say Magic Kingdom, it opens at 9, then at 11 and at 1 and 3, they're going to do a full deep cleaning. They're cleaning in between a lot, but that's when they do a full deep cleaning. This is I learned from Len Testa at TouringPlans, so thank you very much. We were able to get on the last boat at 10:59 at It's a Small World before they did the deep cleaning. And what they do with the deep cleaning is they spray down each boat, and then they send them through the entire ride empty so they can dry. Well, everybody in the queue is waiting. So we got on the last boat, and you can see it and in my video where we were the last boat before they did the deep cleaning, so we didn't have to wait, because otherwise you're going to have to wait another 20 minutes. So just kind of keep that in mind, that if you're going to go grab some lunch, it might be better to grab lunch around 11 or 1 if you're at Magic Kingdom, because that's when they're cleaning all the rides. Another thing that's different is we were always big fans of going back to our resort, taking a nap, and then going back at night. We did that for Hollywood Studios because we were within walking distance, and it backfired on us because we got kicked off the Skyliner, but it still didn't take us that long. With that said, I don't recommend that right now, because the parks are only open for 10 hours, which seems like a lot, but with the buses and with transportation, it could take you, unless you're at a walking distance. So if you're at Bay Lake Tower or you're at Polynesian, then leaving Magic Kingdom is not a big deal. Or same thing if you're at Boardwalk or Beach Club and you're going to Epcot or Hollywood Studios, it's not a big deal. But if you are at, let's say, Old Key West or Saratoga Springs, and you're leaving Magic Kingdom, that's going to take you a long time to get to and from back to resort, rest, and then go back. So I would suggest, if you're staying at a resort that's not within walking distance from the park that you're visiting, figure out, are you going to be a rope dropper, or are you going to close the park down? Or if you're going to stay the whole time, then that's fine too. But for example, for Magic Kingdom, we knew we weren't going back, and that's something we typically do. So, but we got there early in the morning, and then we went as long as we could, and then once the storm looked like it was coming and all the rides were going to get shut down anyway, we hightailed it out of there. But we had no intention of going back. We did as much as we could, and then we left. So figure out, are you going to be open the park, are you going to close the park, are you going to do both? But I don't recommend going back and taking a rest at your resort unless you're within walking distance, or maybe Skyliner or monorail, where it's very easy to get to and from. If you have to take a bus, don't do it. And this is just something that we noticed. A lot of the rides and attractions do not have pre-shows. The only one that I really remember that had it was Rise of the Resistance, and that's because it's really part of the attraction, and they actually make it work. You can kind of see where the numbers are without too many spoilers in my video. But there was no pre-show, Haunted Mansion, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which we hadn't seen yet. So at least there's something to go back to for the pre-show. We haven't seen it yet. Tower of Terror, no pre-show. So just kind of keep that in mind. We didn't really miss it in the attractions that we've gone to before because we've seen them. But for Mickey's and Minnie's Runaway Railway, it was unfortunate, but it gives us a reason to go back. So you probably saw, you've seen it everywhere, the character cavalcades. They're awesome. They're so much fun, and they're just fun to kind of happen upon. There's no times though. So we only got to see the tail end of the Mickey and the gang at Magic Kingdom. So we got to see enough of it, but we never really got to see it again. We saw the princesses twice, which really my son really could have cared less about. But we got to see Merida on the horse, which I really wanted to see. So there's no time, so just kind of be on the lookout. But the tip is if you hear music, you will know that it's coming. We did see it quite a bit in Hollywood Studios. So we saw Mickey and Friends 3 times, and Pixar once, and then we saw the tail end of Disney Junior. So we did see it quite a bit at Disney's Hollywood Studios, but you'll hear the music. You can kind of see it in my videos where you'll hear the music first and then it'll start. And they're just a lot of fun. And what's the best thing is they don't block the walkway. Like it doesn't take a lot of time. It kind of passes by, you wave, and then you continue on. So I love it. I actually prefer it over the regular daytime parade. So I hope that's something that they keep. And finally, I would say have a game plan. TouringPlans is fantastic for that. I know we actually ran into Len Testa when he was testing some TouringPlans while we were there at Hollywood Studios. I had a little fangirl moment. But so if you want to have like a game plan, go to TouringPlans. They are tweaking their touring plans based on this new data that they're receiving with how the parks are right now. But I would also say is enjoy the lack of planning that has been necessary for Walt Disney World vacations for so long. There's no fast passes. There's not a lot of dining options. So we kind of felt liberated where we didn't have to be, we have to be here, we have to be there, and fast passes. We kind of just said, okay, hey Ryder, where do you want to go next? And he wanted to go on a fast ride, and I was like, oh, the line for Haunted Mansion is empty, but he wanted to go on a fast ride, so we went over to Big Thunder Mountain. So we kind of let him, and did we get in less attractions because we were kind of running all over the place? Totally. But it reminded me and my husband of the Walt Disney World that we grew up with, where you just kind of went. There were no fast passes. There was no My Disney Experience. There was no looking at times on your phone. You just kind of went to an attraction, and if it was 20 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes, you waited. So it was kind of nice to have that. We got really lucky with Splash Mountain the first time. It was down in the morning, and then we looked, and then all of a sudden it was open. So we hightailed it over there, and we only had a 10-minute wait. It went up to like 60 minutes. I think that was the longest wait we saw. It was like right after that was like it got to an hour, and then it dropped down to about 45 minutes the rest of the day. So but enjoy it. It's kind of liberating to not have the fast passes. And even if the line seems long, remember that it's spaced out, and also no fast passes mean the standby. The line moves a lot faster. So we got a lot in. We got to ride a lot of things twice. And it was really, really fun to have that experience where I wasn't having to say, we have to go here, we have to go there, we have to go here. We just kind of went where our 4-year-old told us to go, and it was nice. So that's it. That's everything that I can think of. I'm sure there was probably something I forgot, but that's everything I can think of the things that I learned and that have changed at Walt Disney World and kind of what we would do differently. So I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, make sure you hit the like button, and again, click and subscribe, and that way you get a notification every time I post a new video. And don't forget to find me on my DVC Points Live on Sundays. Bye everyone.